Hello everyone and welcome to Esoteric Cinema. My name is Ryan Siebold, and seeing as how we are neck deep in our series covering retro science fiction, I thought I'd take a look at one of the granddaddies in satire of the genre, Mars Attacks from 1996. Set in the 1990s against the aesthetic of the 1950s, Mars Attacks tells the story of humans preparing to at long last embrace intelligent life visiting from neighboring outer space. With diplomacy and polling numbers top of mind, our kind is ready for peace, but the Martians are quick to take advantage of our naivete and exploit it to achieve world domination. Earth isn't ready for their smoke, and so the story bounces around through a large ensemble of characters as we see means of conquest and Looney Tunes violence from the highest ranks of power to salt-of-the-earth middle America. The film was directed by the great Tim Burton, who was inspired by the flying saucer genre after his biopic Ed Wood, which was his previous film in 1994. His next film would be Sleepy Hollow in 99, after Burton took some time off after this film was poorly received overall, only bringing in $101 million against a budget of $100 million. But the film's struggles weren't all Burton's fault. The film was allegedly rushed along by the studio after they denied several versions of the script, and only finally agreed to fully back the project after signing Tim's old friend Jack Nicholson, who of course played the Joker in Burton's Batman. Speaking of cast, this one is insanely stacked with way too many stars to list here, but top billed might be Nicholson, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Glenn Close, Sarah Jessica Parker, Sylvia Sidney, Pam Grier, Natalie Portman, Michael J. Fox, Rod Steiger, Martin Short, Jim Brown, Lucas Haas, Jack Black, Danny DeVito, and even has the aliens voiced by the great Frank Welker. And if you don't know who Frank Welker is, go look him up. He's got over 900 credits to his name over 5 decades. Dude's a madman. Mars Attacks was based on a series of Topps trading cards from 1962. The cards were developed by Len Brown with artwork by comic artists Wally Wood and Norman Saunders. The collection was short-lived and got pulled from shelves for being both too risque and too violent. But the reputation lived on, and screenwriter Jonathan Gems picked up the concept for a screenplay. Gems had an inroad with Burton after doing some uncredited script work for Batman and was working on the never-produced Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Burton was familiar with the card series from his childhood because of course he was. This is right up his alley, and it was just fate and good timing that Burton was hankering for flying saucer fun after his time spent with Ed Wood. His idea for the film was to make a classic Hollywood ensemble piece like Towering Inferno or Mad Mad World, where he could pack the screen with talent, mission accomplished, and no character was safe from sudden doom. Keeping with his love for retro science fiction, Tim wanted the Martians to be stop-motion animation, spearheaded by his old pal Henry Selick. But Selick was busy working on James and the Giant Peach at the time, and it was becoming apparent that the stop-motion route was going to be way too costly and take way too long. So ILM stepped in and brought the little guys to their ack glory via CGI. But, Martians aside, practical effects still run rampant throughout this film. In the documentary Sense of Scale, effects wizards Mike Joyce, who's worked on everything from Batman Returns, Terminator 2, and Independence Day, and Danny Wagner, who went on to work on Starship Troopers, the Star Wars prequels, and all the Pirates movies, spoke lovingly about all the care and craftsmanship bringing all the miniatures and sets to life. This was all spearheaded by Oscar-winning production designer Wynn Thomas, who's made a career working alongside Spike Lee since the 1980s, and wonderfully shot by legendary cinematographer Peter Sashetsky, who worked on Rocky Horror Picture Show, Empire Strikes Back, and all of Cronenberg's films since Dead Ringers in '88. The film was made to look intentionally crappy, keeping with the motif of cheesy low-budget sci-fi, but there are moments I was still really impressed by, like the giant mech robot in the trailer park, or the introduction of the alien leader, for example. Worth mentioning, that whole interior UFO was a set. That was crazy stuff. All in all, it's a weird recipe that just works for some reason. It's a relic from another time, the 1990s, that is also an homage to relics of other times, the 1950s. It's got witty, quotable one-liners, slapstick Bugs Bunny moments, loaded with satire. I got big Dr. Strangelove vibes on this viewing, especially the War Room stuff, and fun violence in a world where nobody is safe.
Don't run. We are your friends.
I love the ensemble element to it. The pacing was quick as we jumped around through all the different storylines, and there's no real protagonist or MacGuffin. It's a very, very strange structure. Only characters playing it straight in the midst of nonsense. Namely Haas and Portman, who help save the day, but we spend very little time with them, so I guess they're our protagonists? It's a pretty unique film, even by Burton standards. Lastly, I'll talk about the Blu-ray disc itself, which mostly holds up, but does have its disappointments. Namely that my copy has no special features. It does have a lossless master audio track, so all of Danny Elfman's score smacks you in the face in the best possible way. But I will say the dialogue sounded muddied on my setup. I adjusted the dialogue enhancement on my Denon receiver. I know some of you are going to chime in the comments and say that. I'd always prefer not to, but that did help a little bit. I do feel like there's a lot of room for improvement there, though. Upon doing some research, it does sound like there's a very heavily rumored 4K release coming soon, as 2026 is the 30th anniversary of the film. So fingers crossed on that, it would be an instant buy for me. I'm going to give this film 4.5 stars. It's not perfect. I can't even say it's my favorite Burton film, but it's a classic and so much fun. It's one of those films I talk about on the show that you could just put on at any time and let it ride. I love this movie very, very much. Well, that's it for me. I'll be back with Jason next week. But in the meantime, just know you've got one out of the two branches of esoteric cinema working for you, and that ain't bad.